Hello, my name is Dale Wilhite. If you want to find out anything about me, you can go on Facebook. This has to deal with police brutality. There's a couple of things that police are doing that could be changed that would better serve society than what's happening today. The first one is I'm wondering why police officers are not using their shields anymore. And I'm talking about some of their shields are huge. They can cover way down here all the way up to your head almost. They're so big. And they're not using them in times when they ought to be using them. For example, just a few weeks ago, I think it was, well, actually about a month, a man near Las Vegas was shot in the stomach by one police officer who was among 15 along an interstate highway. The man had a small knife. He was trying to walk away from the police officers. They surrounded him. They got the cars in front of him and behind him and got him boxed in. And he has a small knife. And they were trying to get him put it down. They didn't bother to use a stun gun on him. They decided to just go ahead and shoot him in the stomach. When the man was no threat to these police officers, there's 15 of them. My gosh. And if they have their shields, he's not really going to be able to stab anybody with it. When you have 15 shields coming up at you. The Romans were pretty good using shields, but apparently the American police force isn't. And I don't understand why so many police officers are shooting people who just have a small knife in their hand. Yeah, it can be deadly. Yeah, you can die. But a lot of times these police officers have plenty of backup. There's no rush. Like the man on the interstate, he was threatening. He was a threat to no one, but basically really himself. Although he didn't threaten to kill himself. And the police officers had him boxed in. He wasn't going anywhere. And then when they did get him down, when the police officers announced, well, I shot him in the stomach. And then I think it was today or yesterday, also near Vegas or in Vegas. A homeless man is killed by a police officer. Same thing, has a knife. The police officer saw the homeless man walking across the highway, stopped him, made an encounter with him. The man pulled a knife, but did not, as far as I know, lunge at him. And the police officer ends up killing him. No police shield. A police shield can protect you. I can say the Romans could protect themselves from a sword, from the enemy's sword with a shield, and they did it, professionally. But our police officers can't even handle somebody with a little knife with a police shield. That's what I'm saying. Something's wrong. And they need to go back to using police shield and stop the killing. The police brutality in this country seems to be getting worse and worse. Although it was at one time probably 10 times worse than this because, as you know, with the internet, TV, and news and 24-hour cable networks, we're seeing a lot more of it. And, of course, more people are filming these things. And so we're probably just learning about how bad it is, and I'm sure it was probably worse than it is now a long time ago, especially if you're a minority. It was really bad. Okay, the second thing here has to do with filming police officers. You can film a police officer even when they stop you for a ticket. Depending on what state you're in, you have to look up the law, and I recommend that people that plan to film a police officer or might do so need to go on the internet or find out what the law is in your state. Write it down, put it inside your car, your vehicle, or have it on you, or something like that, in case you end up filming the police officer, in which you're not interfering in any way, and then they want you to put the camera down, or whatever, and they try to arrest you for it. You can pull it out and say, hey, here's what the law says I can do. Because some people that are being arrested, end up winning big financial judgments from the courts because these police officers, have illegally arrested them when they weren't breaking the law. But here is the strange thing about this that I've been noticing lately, is that a lot of these police officers and people in the media and state officials and congressional representatives are claiming, well, maybe these police officers don't really know what the law is on this. Excuse me. I thought that if we break the law, even though we're ignorant of the law, we still get arrested anyway. Isn't it that ignorance of the law is no excuse? But police officers can be ignorant of the law and they're forgiven? Something's wrong there. That's what I don't understand. And you don't hear anybody bringing that up or asking that question. Most police officers are probably fine people. This is not an attack on the police force. I'm just going after those bad ones. And that police officers need to be held to the same standard as they hold us. Because I've seen it 1,000 times. I watched some of these cop shows, and I've seen some things when living in Vegas and Denver and Dallas and Atlanta, and I've seen police in action before. And they hold us to one standard, but they're held to a different standard. when it comes to understanding what the law is. You know, just like when a police officer let a EPA official go on a person's private land without a warrant, and that officer wasn't really sure whether she could do it or not, so he let her do it, and he held the man back and actually held the homeowner for objecting about it. It ended up what she was doing was illegal, but he didn't know that. Why doesn't he know that? Okay, he even called it in, and apparently nobody at the none of his superiors knew what the law was. Well, we are held to a different standard. We are required to know what the law is, but they are not. It's their job to know this. How hard is it to know for a police officer to know whether you can film them or not and what the circumstances is? You know, just like the other day, there was 5 police officers that went after a man outside a mall who was following his daughter after her daughter slapped the mother in the movie theater in the mall. And they tackled the man because he wouldn't give them his ID. He was just going out there to check on his daughter, make sure she was okay, and ask her why she slapped her mother. The police officer sprayed him with mace, held him down, and the man was dead before he hit the ground. And it took 5 of them to handcuff him. You could see he was limp as they were handcuffing him. The mother had come out there and she had filmed this. And then a police officer got up and then kept trying to keep her from filming what they had just done. You see? Again, a person dying because they wouldn't give their ID. Again, you need to look in your state and see what the laws are on that, because a lot of these police officers have this idea, we're just going to throw you in jail. You know, you have to know whether you have to give your ID or not. You know, some states you are required and some states you are not. But you have to look it up. That's why you need to know the law. But it seems like these police officers don't know the law sometimes. And that's what I don't understand, is why they are held to a different standard when we are held to a higher standard. You see? They're paid to know these things. And again, how hard is it to know whether or not it's legal or illegal to film a police officer, even when your police officer stops somebody for speeding or wants to ask them for their ID and stuff like that in their car, you know, whatever the situation is, they should know what the law is. Okay? And they don't, but they get a free pass. But we don't get a free pass. That's something that needs to change, and that's something you might want to ask your legislator. They need to change that require police officers to know what the law is and to hold them accountable if they violate it. Just wanted to pass that on because it's becoming a serious problem, and unfortunately we don't have any lawmakers that want to deal with these two subjects here. They really need to be dealt with because, again, we are held to a higher standard than the police officers, and that's wrong. Again, as I said, most police officers are fine, you know, what they do. They do the best that they can, but there are those, you know, like every tree has a few bad apples, they got their bad apples too. And that's what I'm targeting in on here. Thank you for your time.